So good morning everyone, and welcome to another episode of Accounting for Old Cars. And today you join me on the Suffolk border, and I'm about to take off in Tess, my 1967 2-litre Vitesse. Bit of a difference, however. I'll just show you these. White trainers can only mean one thing. Yep, we're going to Essex. So we're on the A137, which takes us south from Ipswich down to the River Stour, and the place I'm taking you today is a very pretty little town. In fact, considered at one time to be the smallest town in England, and that is Manningtree, which historically was a port associated with the import-export of timber, coal and grain. And it's interesting to sort of think that obviously coal is not something that Suffolk and Essex are noted for, but this must have been an important gateway for coal to be brought into this part of East Anglia. My guess is by coaster coming down from the northeast of England. I did a quick Wikipedia search, and apparently the name Manningtree is thought to indicate an area of large woodland. So Manningtree, many trees, maybe fanciful, but that's certainly one of the explanations. But what we'll do is we'll have a little drive through the town, and I'll give you a flavour for what there is just across the Suffolk border. And of course it's worth saying that being on the banks of the Stour, this whole river valley is home to one of Suffolk's most famous sons, the artist John Constable. We're just crossing the river estuary here, and to my right and further upstream we have places like Flatford and Dedham, which I featured in one of my earlier videos. And downstream, off to my left, we have the port of Harwich. One of the things I love about this little town is you get to gamble. You can either take your chance with a level crossing, or you can skip it and go under the bridge if you're small enough. Today we're taking a gamble with the level crossing, which may not have been a great one, because that's where all the potholes are, and I guess that's because all the HGVs have to take that route. So typically, as with most of these little market towns, or even port towns, we approach via the sort of industrial edge, and you can see there's quite a mix of light industry and service industry here. From what I can gather, the demise of a town as a port came with the railways, which was true of so many other little estuary ports. and of course it was always going to struggle competing against the deeper water port downstream of Harwich. But there's a lot to recommend Manningtree. Suddenly we arrive in the town centre, and I'll just switch the camera angle here. So as we come in, we've got 19th century and 18th century architecture, and a lot of very pretty townhouses, independent stores, and as we've seen in some of the Suffolk towns like Beccles and Bungay, sort of tall merchant houses with these grand Georgian fronts, some colonnaded front doors, and then of course we come down round to the river here. And then to our right, former maltings. And as we've talked about before, the malting of barley is such a big industry in this part of the world. Obviously essential for brewing, but you can just see the tops of one of the old maltings here. And again, these elegant Georgian buildings. And then ahead of us, off to the right, we've got earlier houses, timber framed, possibly as early as sort of 17th century, with again the later 18th century facades. And then these colour wash houses, right at the top of a hill. These are probably as early as 16th century. I'm just noticing a rather nice Mark II Mazda MX-5. Being a Sunday, the town feels very, very quiet. But, that's fine. We're coming into Stour Street, or Stour Street. And this is really the back of the high street, sort of the former yards, shops and hotels. Again, these sort of magnificent merchants' houses. All built on coastal trade and the inland waterways. Wonderful aqua green house with its mansard roof above us. I'm not sure if that's in camera shot or not. But, coming down to the river, and again this is an area where the wharves and port buildings, warehouses were all located. A lot of them gone, replaced by private housing and boat yards. Well, I'll see if we can park here and give you a bit of a taste of what there is. So just having a quick look at the estuary here at Manningtree, and on the railway bridge we've got the upper reaches of the Stour, which would take us all the way up to Flatford and Dedham, and then downstream towards Harwich. As you can see, the tide is out, which is kind of typical of my timing, but there's a kind of haunting beauty about the mud flats here, even at lower water. Talking about some of the architecture a minute ago, and you can see the top towers of the former maltings there. Again, this wonderful brick-faced three-storey house in front of us, which has these tar-painted elevations, ready to sort of keep the prevailing weather off. I think what we'll do is we'll cross the road, just have a little look at some of the other buildings. I particularly like these townhouses, which have been curved to follow the line of a road. And of course this would have been particularly important for getting carts around the corners as they came down, because obviously carts would have a very wide turning circle, and so without wanting to waste any space, they built right up to the edge of the street. We'll cross over here. Again, just take in this magnificent building. Again, typical of a Georgian period, big windows. And you can see possibly some of the upper windows have got the original hand-blown glass, and you can see they have a refractive quality to them, which the ones at the bottom don't have. And clearly the ones at the bottom have been more liable to breakages, and so have been replaced. But yeah, it's a very, very pretty town. I think think one of the things I particularly like about this town is the sense that it is very much a working town. It doesn't appear like some of the smaller Suffolk towns that we've seen in Suffolk to be dominated by second homeowners, but that may or may not be true. Clearly, as we were saying earlier, it is very, very important for commuters, and I think for that reason, it's very much a town for working people, whether they're working the local economy or coming into London on a daily basis. So this building we're looking at just ahead of us is an example of a mansard roof. Again, you see quite a few of them in Suffolk, but they're certainly not the most common vernacular building style. But it gives more head space or headroom in the attic spaces, so you're not sort of banging your head on the eaves in these buildings. But yeah, pretty, very pretty. And again, just get this wonderful view. Focus on this map for a second. So I think what we'll probably try to do is to take Tess along this road past Mistley Towers to Mistley Quay here. So I think this will be the next bit of our journey this morning. One of the things I find really useful about owning the Vitesses is the cars have the kind of performance and long legginess which allows us to sort of venture a little bit further from home when we want to, whether that's sort of heading up to Nottingham, which I do frequently during the summer months, or going to North Norfolk, or as we are here just across the border into North Essex. But in contrast to my video last week, which was about pre-war motoring, perhaps using the little lanes, being able to access a road safely and drive at speed does give me the flexibility to come and share places like Manningtree with you, which is a real pleasure for me. So what we're going to do next, we're going to jump into Tess and we'll head down stream and have a look at Mistley and see what that reveals for us. So you'll join me back in the car very shortly. Started off as sort of bright sunshine, but it's clouded over a bit. It's still dry and very mild for this time of in April. town of Mistley, and here again we can see these enormous warehouses and the quayside. And Mistley's still a working port, and so a lot of these buildings are still in use, but many of them have been converted into offices and apartments. What I'm hoping is that this journey out, if it's done anything today, it's perhaps scotched the myth that the county of Essex is what you see in TV programmes like The Only Way is Essex, and that my joke about the white trainers is completely misplaced. For me, this is what the essence of a county really is, and it's really quite beautiful. We appear to have picked up some friends in front of us, and I'm sorry that you can't smell what I can smell, but one of them is running a little on the rich side, and I'm getting this heady cocktail of petrol fumes, which I'm not objecting to in the least. It reminds me of the 70s. Lovely Mini Cooper S in front of us. So I'm guessing Mark III, 1967 Mark II. Sorry, 1970 I should say, Mark II. And obviously a hit with motorcyclists as well. It's only fair that as we came over the top, we'll leave by going under the bottom, but not our right of way.